Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday. I hope the week has started well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. I hope you had a good weekend, an Arsenal-free weekend, of course. No worries about whether we're going to score a goal over the weekend or win a game. We could just sit back, chill, relax, put our feet up and focus on this big week that lies ahead, because it is Champions League week. Arsenal taking on PSV tomorrow in the first leg of their last 16 tie. They'll be flying out to Netherlands a little bit later on today. They got training this morning at London Colney, then they're going to head off there. Mikel Arteta's got a press conference planned in the Netherlands for this evening, where we'll hear the latest from him ahead of that game tomorrow against PSV. So we will talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Of course, we discussed it in yesterday's, looking at some of the decisions facing Mikel Arteta in that one. We're going to talk about Andrea Berta, who is believed to be closing in potentially on being Arsenal's next sporting director. Some big reports today, including from Fabrizio Romano, that he is now in advanced talks. We know he's on the shortlist, but Romano is saying he's very close to potentially getting that job. So we're going to talk about that, look at him a little bit more in depth. Got questions and comments from you guys, of course. And we're going to talk about Thomas Partey, which is where we're going to start today's show, on Thomas Partey and his future. Now, we know Thomas Partey, we know he's out of contract with Arsenal at the end of this season. Similar situation to Jorginho, although Arsenal do have an option with Jorginho. They don't have an option of an extra year with Thomas Partey. Now, my understanding on this situation, because there have been reports that Arsenal maybe have been in talks with Partey about an extra year or something like that. We've seen that recently. My understanding is that is not the case. There has been no talks with Arsenal and Thomas Partey yet anyway about a new contract. And at the moment, as I've reported before, the likelihood is Thomas Partey is going to go at the end of the season. And there's a growing sense around his camp that a contract offer is not going to be on the table. And if it is, it's not going to be, of the sort of it's not going to be comparable to what he's on now at Arsenal. So if a contract does come, it might just be a bit of a token sort of contract. So there is a belief that Thomas Partey's time at Arsenal is coming to an end. We don't know that for sure yet. Obviously, there's a lot of time to go. Things could change. They could come to the table. But at the moment, it looks like he is going to be headed off. There is interest in Thomas Partey from elsewhere. Big European clubs, Barcelona interested in Thomas Partey, PSG holding interest as well. Juventus, there's other interest as well. As far as I'm aware, his preference potentially right now, should he leave Arsenal, he would favour potentially a return to Spain, where obviously he was at Atletico Madrid before he came to Arsenal. He moved over to Spain, really good time there, and that would potentially be his preference. But no decision has been taken yet in terms of what he's going to do or what his next step is. We've heard from Arsenal before. We've heard from Mikel Arteta before anyway, that he would rather any sort of contract talks happen in a little bit later on, potentially at the end of the season, so they can just focus on this season coming to an end. Now, we know Arsenal are sort of planning a bit of a rebuild again this summer, or I don't even want to call it a rebuild, but they're planning on bringing in some new players in midfield as well. We know that they're pushing to sign Martin Zubamendi, who kind of plays as a six, and you would imagine that is going to be the position if he were to come to Arsenal, and it looks like that could happen, that he would be six and it would take over from Thomas Partey's role. We've seen the links to Joshua Kimmich in the last week or so as well, potentially as a replacement maybe for Jorginho, who's also expected to leave like Partey at the end of the season. We know that they're after Sven Naipan as well, as he gets sort of young, bringing in some fresh young blood to the midfield, more of an attacking option maybe than Zubamendi or Kimmich would be, should those deals happen. So likelihood at the moment is, if you're sort of weighing out saying, is Thomas Partey going to stay or is he going to go? My understanding is more likely right now that he is going to go, and there is interest from elsewhere. Barcelona probably at the head of that table right now, and there has been no contract talks with Arsenal, despite some reports you may have seen in the last few days or so. So that's the latest on Thomas Partey. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below, in terms of what you think Arsenal will be doing with their midfield going into next season. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on it all in the comments below. Right, moving on to Andrea Berta. Obviously, big news today. If you haven't seen it yet, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the tweet that Fabrizio Romano put out this morning. This is on the sort of hot on the heels of last week's reports. David Ornstein reporting the shortlist, and Berta was on that shortlist. We knew that Jason Ito was obviously on that shortlist. He's been doing the job on an interim basis. We've known for a long time that Roberto Alave of Real Sociedad is someone that Arsenal have been looking at and considering. and Dan Ashworth as well, of course. And then David also on that shortlist he published last week. You had Andrea Berta on there and Skura at Monaco, wasn't it? And now it's believed that Andrea Berta is the top candidate. That's what Fabrizio Romano is reporting. My understanding is there's been no offers made to anyone yet when it comes to being Arsenal's next sporting director. So there's been no official offers yet. They're still at that final stage. They are close to getting to the stage where they've got their preferred candidate and they will make an offer. But certainly, as far as I'm aware, that hasn't happened yet. Fabrizio reporting that discussions have already taken place. Berta left Atletico after building the team in recent years. Talks advanced stage, not done, sealed yet. Now, we know that Berta, I think, was in London last week. And so we'll wait and see what happens in this. And there have been reports today as well from Italy that he has rejected the opportunity to go to Milan, or Milan have moved on from potentially trying to get him to become their sporting director because they believe that he is going to Arsenal. So yeah, interesting developments. It looks like things are beginning to move forward finally on the sort of appointment of a new sporting director to replace Edu. I think Berta's a very strong candidate, no doubt about it. You look at what he's done at Atletico Madrid over the years, very, very successful, kept Madrid, kept Atletico, competing against Real and Barcelona pretty much year on year. Helped with that. Obviously, Diego Simeone's the manager and has done a fantastic job there. And Berta has done some really good things, been involved in some really good deals, helped build a squad that's capable on less money than their sort of two main rivals in the league, and is capable of competing with them and sometimes getting the better of them as well. He's been involved in some big deals, really high profile deals. You think of getting João Felix, obviously didn't turn out to be a very good deal, to be honest, for them. But, there's big money deals involved in that. There's been others as well. Julian Alvarez last year, for example. There's been a Thomas Lemar deal from Monaco quite a long time ago. And again, when you actually weigh that up and whether it's a success or not, you can certainly debate that. But he's been involved in deals. He's got some big deals over the line. I think what I like about Berta, and I've always kind of liked the idea of Roberto Alave, I have to say. But when you look at Berta, what I think might hold him in good stead when it comes to Arsenal, I said this before, is that anyone who has worked alongside Diego Simeone for such a long time, I think must have a real strong character around him. You think of Simeone, you think of how intense he is, you think of how demanding he is. And if you're going up against him, and as a sporting director, you're going to have to disagree with the manager quite a lot. It's going to happen. You're going to have different ideas, obviously, and you're going to have to debate those ideas out with them, have it out with them, decide which way you're going to go. And if you're doing that with Simeone, you've got to be a very, very strong personality and a very, very strong character. And I think that's exactly what Arsenal need. It's why I don't really feel like Jason Ato is a very good sort of candidate right now, because I'm sure even if he's very highly rated. I'm always told that people really respect him at Arsenal, but he's still learning. He's still young in the job. And I'm not sure that's what Arsenal need right now at such a crucial stage of the sort of the Arteta era, if that's what you want to call it, because it's been, the last few years have been really, really strong, really good. But this has been a bit of a sort of standstill season for Arsenal, no doubt about that. And you need something to really move it on and sort of take sort of firm grasp of the place after Edu left. And I think someone like Berta, who's gone head-to-head with Simeone for a long time, who's worked alongside Simeone for such a long time, could be what Arsenal need, certainly to go up against Arteta, who's a very strong character himself, a very demanding, intense character himself, and has got a very strong position at the club now. And you kind of need someone to be able to challenge him and be strong enough to really challenge him. And I think Berta could do that, because he's shown that he's been able to work hand in hand with someone like Simeone for a long time and be successful. And there's no way that's been smooth sailing. I don't know that, I haven't been behind the scenes there, obviously, but there's absolutely no way that's been smooth sailing. That must have been a really difficult job. So we'll see what happens with it, but good that's progress made. Whatever happens, and I've said before, they need to make this appointment now. And Berta is available now as well. He's left Atletico Madrid already. And when you look at Alave, who I've always liked as the candidate, but my worry has always been that he's always said, I'm so committed to Sociedad, I'm going to see through till the end of the season, not going to think about anything else, get through to the end of the season, and then I'll make my decision on what happens next. And if you're doing that, you're into May, June before you even sort of start the job. And that's way down the line in terms of planning for the summer already. So if Berta could potentially come in now, be appointed now, even before the end of the season, that puts him in a really good position to take a firm hold of the sort of summer window and what Arsenal need to do. Right, moving on. Actually, before I do that, please do let me know your thoughts on that, on Andrea Berta, and if you think that would be a good appointment or not. But just moving on now to tomorrow night's game. Obviously, Arsenal flying out later on today for that match against PSV. We'll hear from Mikel Arteta and a player at the press conference later on this evening. I'll be back in the morning doing my preview show. We'll look at what Arteta's had to say, do the predicted 11s, all that sort of stuff. You want to get involved in that show, let me know your predicted 11s or the 11s you would like to see tomorrow. And who should play where. I do think, as I said yesterday, some big decisions for Arteta to make in terms of the formation. First of all, who plays up front? Do you go with Marino again? Do you finally bring Ben White back in? Is this the first time we see Ben White start a game since his return from injury? What do you do at left back? Does Lewis Skelly come back in after missing out against Nottingham Forest? Do you continue with Calafiori and sort of have him in that sort of roaming role we saw prove very effective in the first half against Nottingham Forest? There's lots of big decisions for Arteta to make. As I said yesterday, we're interested in getting thoughts on some of those at the press conference a little bit later on, and also get your thoughts on them as well to bring together and include in the preview show tomorrow. So please do let me know in the comments below. Really good win for the women yesterday. Thriller of a game. 4-3, 3-1 down in the second half. 3 goals in the space of about 8 minutes to turn the game on its head. Kate McCabe, Leah Williamson, brilliant header that from Williamson. Then Caldente with the penalty afterwards. That handball was so bizarre. AFC Cape Town has got in touch. Big up the women, showing strength and character. I thought it was done at 3-1. 10 minutes later, we're winning 4-3. By the way, that was the most awkward handball, trying to protect her face. Yeah, that was a bizarre. But it took so long for the referee to give that as well. It felt like someone had sort of told him in his ear that you've got to give that. That was a blatant handball. And it was. I don't know how he missed it, first of all. But really good win for the women. Obviously, been on generating real momentum in the last sort of couple of months or so. Good to see Chloe Kelly getting her first goal for the club as well since her return in the first half. Nice finish from close range. But yeah, great win for the women. As you say, FC Cape Town showed loads of strength and character to come back and win that way. So congratulations to them. Right, moving on to some of your questions and comments now. Yevon Wonders says, "Hi Charles, I watched the United against Fulham game and Cheeto looks some player. I want to be carried away, but do you think the Arsenal board will be looking at that with a bit of disappointment, or will they be content with everything they did to try and keep him? Secondly, with the rise of very young, talented players this season, do you think it's absolutely vital for Arsenal to try and create a pathway for Max Dowman if they want to cling on to him? I'm sure he's seeing what is going on at United with both Heaven and Cheeto. And will this now mean Arsenal have to fast-track his development to convince him to sign when he reaches 17? I mean, they have fast-tracked his development. He's 15 years old, and he's training every week with the first team, and he's going on tour. Well, he's going to Dubai with the first team. He's a 15-year-old kid. I mean, you can't fast-track his development any more than they're doing right now. And I do think if they were allowed, they would have played so far this season. So I don't think, they can go any faster than they can. I think what they're doing is unbelievable, really. When you look at it, it shows the talent that Dowman has, that he's just around the place. He's always there. Whenever I see training, he's playing, he's in it. He's literally, he's not a first team member, obviously, but he is just there around all the time. So they're doing everything they can to make him be part of a first team environment, despite being 15. Do I think they'll be looking at the Cheeto stuff with disappointment? I don't, to be honest. I think they, like you said, I think they are content that they did everything they possibly could to keep him. I mean, you could always say, well, they should have offered more. They should have offered more. They should have offered what United offered. But what United offered, and I know people say it's about pathway. I'm sorry. What United are paying Cheeto Martin is unbelievable for a kid of that age. And fair play, look, if it works out and he's brilliant, then it was the right decision. But if you start doing that, you're wandering into really dangerous territory, I think, in terms of what you're giving 15 to 16-year-old kids to play football and what you're going to be paying them. So, look, I wasn't involved in negotiations, obviously. All I know is from conversations I've had that Arsenal believe they did absolutely everything. Arteta was really pushing for him to stay. They'd mapped out what they believed was a really clear pathway to the first team. They'd offered him good money that was going to, once he hit 17 and that pro contract was sort of signed, he was going to be getting very, very well paid for a player of his age and experience. But he chose to go to United. It happens. Arsenal have taken young kids from other teams as well in the past. It just happens when you're that age. In terms of Dowman, like I said, I don't think he needs to look at what's going on with Heaven and Cheeto at United. He just needs to look at what's going on in front of him every day at Arsenal and look at Ethan Nwaneri. You know what? There's no better example of the fact you can come in and become an absolute star at Arsenal at 17 years old. If you want to be, if you're good enough, you can do it. Ethan's shown it this season. He's been given the opportunities and he showed it. Miles Lewis-Skelly has been given the opportunities this season. He showed it. He's about probably getting England call up at the age of 18 in his first season. So I don't know why he'd have to look at Heaven and Cheeto. I think he just has to look at what's happening in the first team right ahead of him. And why wouldn't you? So look, it's going to be hard to keep Max Dowman until he's 17, until he's signed that contract. It's going to be hard because he is going to be getting offered everything under the sun from so many clubs. You know, Ranieri, it looked like he was gone at one point. You know, Arsenal really thought they'd lost him because of what Chelsea and Man City were offering him, but they managed to keep him and get that first pro contract signed. It's going to be just as difficult this time with Max Dowman because he's so talented and everyone knows that. But they're going to do all they can to keep him. So, yeah, thanks for your question there, Jevon. Sea Lord as well has got in touch talking about Mika Biereth. Quite a lot of people were talking about Mika Biereth as well because he's banging in the hat tricks left, right, and centre for Monaco, and you know, talking about how much it was a mistake to let him go, which I just think it's all easy hindsight, isn't it? I mean, did any of us really think Mika Biereth was going to be Arsenal striker? Don't get me wrong. I'd much rather have him now than not have him because we've got no strikers. So it'd be very nice to have Mika Biereth playing because you could actually use him as a striker right now. But, you know, I don't really look at what's going on in France and just think, he should be at Arsenal. He's good enough to be at Arsenal. Sea Lord rightly points out, every time I see Biereth score goals and people say we should have kept him, I look at the scoring record of Lacazette in the same league, another 2 goals for him yesterday. Maybe we should have kept him. For avoidance of doubt, that is a joke. And it's right. It's just tough to draw comparisons between what happens in France and what happens over here. You know, Balogun went over to France with Reims, scored all those goals. Everyone said, we've got to keep him. We've got to keep him. 30 million is nowhere near what we should be getting for Balogun. Arsenal accepted that deal. I said at the time it was a really good deal, and it's proved to be a very good deal since. He's not really hit the ground running since he's made that move to Monaco. It might still happen. I hope it does. I don't, just because they've left Arsenal, I don't want them to then go on and not have good careers. It's great. I'm really enjoying seeing what Mika Biereth's doing for Monaco right now. Obviously, it'd be nice to see him doing it for Arsenal because we've got no strikers at the moment that scoring any goals. So I'd be happy to have him here. But I don't look at it and just think, oh, it was a mistake. You know, Arsenal got a decent bit of money for him. They got a decent sell on when he made the move to Monaco. And then we'll see how his career goes in the long run, not just in the space of like 6 weeks. And in a sort of real sort of glut of goals that he's scoring at the moment. But thank you, everyone, for getting in touch. Appreciate it, as always. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. We'll reflect on what Mikel had to say in his press conference this evening. We'll do the predicted 11, all that sort of stuff. So have a great day. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the start of your week. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.